just give everybody an update. Certainly, it's always helpful. So.
Hi,
Betsy,
Betsy.
do you have your, hang on.
How about without your
Okay, I'm
video?
going to try out the video.
How about
Perfect.
better?
You're back. Thank you.
Okay, good. Just wanted to let you know here I was, but I figured I needed to turn my video off. So thank you. I just wanted to kind of go through our holiday calendar for you. First off, to thank everyone that showed up to help with the garland. All the garland and lights are up. The poinsettias and the snowflakes, so all the lampposts are decorated. Big thank you to Elijah Zimmer for that, helping on Sunday. We still have the wreath to hang on the town hall, hopefully getting some help with that. And really this weekend, it starts it all. I can't believe it's Thanksgiving Thursday. So we've got Plaid Friday. This is our big shop local, small business Saturday. Artist Sunday and a fun day, cider Monday, and Giving Tuesday. December 1st, we're doing something different, kind of starting off December with Sip, Dine, and Enjoy Your Way Around Town. And 33 Bridge is hosting Seven Balls Brewing Company. They'll be doing samplings of beer. Allen Brothers will have local wine from Vermont Vines. Halliday's will be offering some sampling. There'll be snacks and tea at Village Square Booksellers. Common Sense Store will have something fun. So definitely a good night to come out. Starting like at 3.
Day was that?
December 1st, I think.
December 1?
Thursday, December 1. And then that's also the same night as the Bellows Falls Holly Jolly Bellows Follies. So doors open 6:30. They start at 7:30. So yeah, come down, have a night of it. The following weekend starts Ladies' Night, so December 9th from 4 to 8. And we've got Moondog Cafe is joining us this year. There'll be a pop-up shop at 33 Bridge, lady making jewelry, and just posting that on Facebook. So there'll be lots of posts and event things going on the Bellows Falls Downtown Development Alliance Facebook. So BIFTA. Parade of Lights is Saturday the 10th. So stay tuned for a lot of people to be in town. We are doing the full loop this year. And there are applications if you want to, people are interested in joining us. We'd like them to fill out an application, and the rules, it's available online at bellowsfallsvt.org. You can get it at the Facebook BIFTA page. There are paper applications available at the town hall downstairs in the lobby of the movie theater.
Great.
And Sunday, the 11th, the Bellows Falls Rotary meeting, the Rotary movie is playing, and that's actually at noon. They're doing Puss in Boots, and I believe it's a free movie for all. And then the next week, Friday, December 16th, is our Not Just for Men's night. So it's another fun night out. Most of these events, local merchants are doing discounts. They're doing, raffles and Christmas wrapping, but they're also doing specials and samplings and tastings and beverages. So definitely fun to come out, shop local. It's also BF3F, so the third Friday of the month. And there'll be a Canal Street kind of block party. There'll be music. Canal Street Art Gallery is doing Meet the Artist Live. And Mindy Fisher's open her studio this season. So even with construction, definitely check out Canal Street. Sharon Bocelli, so SB and Company Antiques, she's part of Shop Local this year, and she's open every Saturday. One more thing, Bellows Falls Opera House released their holiday films, so definitely check that out. But starts with Elf next Wednesday, actually, next week already.
Anything else, Betsy?
Actually, one more thing. So of course, so you can shop local, collect stamps for your holiday cards through December 31st. And if you want to know more, learn more, see me in action, reading that whole calendar of events, check out the feed, Marty and Mike. I was there last Wednesday, and that's on Facebook. And I ran through the list of participants. So we've got, I don't know, over 60 people that either sponsored or are participating in Shop Local this year.
Great.
Thank
Well,
you so
for
much.
all that. Sounds like a great month. Okay,
So,
I guess we're
thank you,
done.
Betsy.
Thanks, Betsy. All right, item number 2 is the public safety, agenda item. A is review the ambulance RFP.
So the board's aware we've been with Golden Cross for an extended period of time, and there's been ups and downs with our relationship, but we've been trying to figure out are there other opportunities. So this RFP was put together to see is there some other potential bidders that might be interested. Right now, we sort of have we don't have a formal contract. Our contract with Golden Cross expired, and we've been going sort of month to month with them. And we wanted to get something more up to date and a little more formalized. The thing I wanted to highlight in here, and Deb also brought to my attention that might be a concern to the village, was any new vendor would potentially need some space in order to transition ambulances and what have you before they would start to offer services. Because if you're a new provider, you have to go through a district review and approval process that takes time. That's why we pushed the start date out for this into the summer, as well as it would take somebody time to find a facility and locate equipment. So the potential to attract bidders, we would offer some space in our public safety building. We would certainly, look to work with a vendor about what we might talk about for rent, obviously. But the point of that being is at least then it opens the door to having more than just Golden Cross bid on the renewal of the contract. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to bring this to the board's attention. This whole contract, if we get some bids, is going to go back through the fire equipment committee. Wade's a member of that. We've had a lot of discussions with that group about concerns from the public safety end about where we are with responses and staffing. So we're hoping that ultimately we at least get 2 vendors, Golden Cross as well as potentially another vendor, which is probably more than likely going to be Rescue Inc. because they're really the 2 providers in our area that would potentially bid on this and then give us a choice. We could ultimately come back and see if we can come up with a new arrangement for EMS.
There's more, there must have been more pages. You only give us the first 3, yeah?
There was like 16 pages. A lot of it is
okay.
indemnifications and
Yeah.
other
Other
pieces.
stuff.
I didn't, those
We
aren't
didn't
as
necessarily-
relevant as just the importance of, just wanted to make sure that the board was aware that piece was in there. And we'll see, like I said, we'll see what we get as part of this process. So
I'm just curious. I mean, this is a Bellows Falls facility. It's not a town facility. We pay for everything in this building. And if you house an ambulance in there, you're going to have to house people in there to drive the ambulance.
right, we do have a vacant office space right now in the upstairs that would be potentially available.
But did the town fathers, address what Bellows Falls would get for making this available? I mean,
We haven't gotten anything back formally on it, Jigs, and at some point, if we do have somebody, we'll have to talk about what we would do.
So has this already
Potential
been,
use of
this
space.
has already been put out there because I didn't see it on the website.
There's only 2 people that are eligible, so we sent it to the 2
So you sent it
providers.
to them.
Correct.
So you'd evidently be looking for some type of monies or investment or however you want to term it, or what would need to be done at the
Well, we wouldn't
Public
invest any
safety.
money in the facility. It would be more to use the space until they could come up with a more permanent location for their house.
right, but then you'd also be, in addition to the office space, you'd require housing or sleeping quarters.
There's a sleeping room up there.
There's room
Yeah.
if there is going to be.
But what I'm getting to is those, what's, is it, what's it going, what would it cost us? Because I'm not sure the exact term, but well, whatever they call it, the exhaust catchers. Because when we had those installed, there was substantial expense for that. Can you add 2 vehicles in there and plug them into the exhaust system to catch the exhaust?
They could go on the apparatus floor. We'd make room. So there wouldn't have to be any modifications to the equipment base.
Okay. So are we looking at some type of rental fee or?
Yes.
Well, at this point, we haven't been approached. This is the first time we've been approached. And but for myself, I would suggest that we put this on the June board meeting. Because the town hasn't said anything to us about it. So what would they compensate us for? While the bid's already been sent to the two most likely are only bidders.
Right.
And that they anticipate using our space, but there's nothing in there including the tax to them about what it's gonna cost to do that, to use our space.
Well, again, if we have a second, if the second, right now, Golden Cross has a facility, so they would have no interest in our space. And then
Although
if
I've
there
heard
was
they
a-
don't like that space.
They don't want to pay for additional space.
No, they don't. want to pay.
So, correct. So this is really an opportunity for somebody if they're going to participate, because they're also going to have to build infrastructure if this is going to be successful,
Mhm.
to have a second operating ambulance
Mhm.
service here in this part of the county.
I think that the way it's written, Scott, I think it's misleading because there's 2 ways to look at this. One would be provide a temporary facility for the first 6 months of the contract, allowing the ambulance company to establish a presence in the village. Or reference to if the bidder wanted to take advantage of this, there would have to be a cost to it. I think it's just, it's nice to know that we can accommodate an ambulance or 2 in the building without any modifications, but I think this idea of a level playing field, I do think that Golden Cross has an advantage, and this is, it's not apples and apples. I think that, I guess, so I just think that written the way it is now, I think it's quite misleading. And I don't think it's appropriate because the town has not dealt with us as to what this accommodation would be costing. Because if you get, let's say they each bid $100, or the new guy bids $95 to $100, okay? Well, they're thinking they can park their vehicles in our building, no problem. And in fact, there's a cost and there would be an expense that would have to be paid. So
The bid doesn't include that cost.
no,
Right.
Have to be
It's just cost us
negotiated,
the
well,
right
it have to be
service.
negotiated separately, which was also discussed with them as well.
Can you explain to me why Rockingham Volunteer Fire Department wasn't offered instead? Because it is a town, it's the town's taxes that pay for that service. Why aren't they using that? Why don't they have that building in there instead?
It's not as centrally located, so it's not as convenient in terms of response times for the bulk of the majority of the calls.
That they have to do?
And they don't have.
They're
to
too
pay.
big to fall.
we want the equipment in Bellows Falls too.
Oh, I understand that. I just think that putting the cart before the horse here and the village feeling slightly slighted by not having it brought to our attention before it got put on a bid that's already gone
I
out
mean,
there.
Jigs isn't wrong. These there is no real competition in this world.
Yeah.
right? You can't just go out and it's like, other things, like heating oil, for example, right? Well, we know there's 10 or 15 companies that can deliver heating oil.
But it's still finite for us.
Well, there was at one time when there was discussion of the building process, because I know I had them with we were looking at one time, I think at 1,100, and this was years ago. Kay Hennessy was here, I believe, or it was back in the early days, $1,100 a month to put a rig in there. It wasn't 2 rigs, it was a rig. And then at the time, I believe, my memory serves me correctly, I was told that they didn't have that space. So, but now, like I say, my concern is we're looking into hook into the exhaust system.
Right.
That's gonna cost some money.
Electricity, power, and the space, and just renting. the
We were
space.
here a while back where
Yeah.
there was some discussion, there wasn't room to put any vehicle impounded from the police department. All of a sudden, we got room for 2 ambulances and.
Yeah,
Well, an impound is a different kind of, right?
Well, I realize
well,
that.
yeah, that's
Sure.
just keyword.
Right,
Yeah,
which is part of what we're gonna talk about with the salary slip. but
well,
a
that's
whole
why I've
separate
advocated
discussion,
that. But
right.
then, when I look at this and the primary vehicles and staffing, or the backup vehicle and staffing, currently, the ambulance service we do have, they do a fair amount of transfers. I mean, they run a radio. So there's some criteria in here about a backup ambulance, et cetera, or mutual aid. I'm not sure if that's quite clear.
Well, the real challenge and we talked about this a little bit at the table, is we are running into substantial numbers of mutual aid responses for routine EMS calls in the village.
Right.
And so the providers, which is mostly happening from Walpole,
Yeah.
has reached the point where they're considering doing some drastic things about not responding, because they're not able to cover their base responsibilities because they're over here so often
Right.
dealing
Yeah.
with these calls,
But isn't that make it Golden Cross's fault?
which is
Because
why
they're
we're,
not making themselves
That's right.
available to us.
which is why we're trying to encourage
Yeah.
some competition again,
Well-
it's not a level playing field. These are not traditional
Yeah.
kinds of services. And if we don't do this, then there is only one provider
I mean, I think,
and they're stretched. They're in Brattleboro.
right,
Their resources have been committed to Brattleboro in a
for
lot
a
of cases.
substantial amount of money. And
And
that's what I want to, we're looking, whoever, you mentioned the other service out of Brattleboro, or headquartered in Brattleboro. I think, are we still at 75,000 a year with Golden
we
Cross?
still, in the budget, that has been our annual renewal.
Okay, so I would imagine, having read their, I guess you could term it debacle or whatever, that they've made some changes down there with the ambulance. That if somebody else was to put in the bid, I would think that it would be substantially higher than 75 grand a year.
Yes.
Sure would.
Yeah,
And quite frankly, the EMS system across the whole state is in a world of trouble.
Mhm.
So what you're seeing here is no reflection at all isolated. This is not our problem. They're having problems in Bennington County. They're having problems in other parts of the state.
so let me ask you,
Services are going bankrupt. Some of the ambulances companies that are there are actually just stopping to provide service. They're not-
having worked for an ambulance provider here in this community in my past, the bulk of their revenue is transfers. So when I look at this backup vehicle and staffing, primary vehicle and staffing, we're looking, they'd be looking at whoever it would be, the 2 you quoted, whoever at the town of Rockingham. What are the other towns gonna do? I mean, should there be a consortium of discussion with, whether it be Westminster, Langdon, Ackworth?
We've started conversations with Westminster. They're not terribly happy with the arrangement, so there's some
Right.
conversation about how that might work going forward.
But I see this is tailored.
Grafton is in the same boat. We've also talked
Right.
potentially to Chester because they're also having issues staffing their ambulance. and they have issues. So this is not a isolated issue. We're gonna be dealing with
Right.
this in multiple times,
But
multiple
I'm saying
ways.
that these specifically are tailored to us as far as bringing a backup ambulance and or backup staff.
For right now, absolutely.
Still doesn't guarantee that it stays here and doesn't head to Westminster or wherever,
Oh, that
once
was
it's
it.
here.
By
Might
what I
have to
read
fix all
here,
that.
quickly reading it, and obligate them to make sure they have another one here to
To
service
stay
the
here.
town.
No.
But
Okay, again, I think it should be on the joint board. So we discuss it then, although we might have a large agenda. I'm not sure what we have for that
Not
coming up.
not that long.
And I think our agreement should be with the town of Rockingham,
Right.
and not with the ambulance service. Whoever comes on board, if
Well-
indeed this is the space they're going to want to use, that agreement should be crafted between us and town.
so would we be looking at rent or?
Rent,
Yeah.
or, and whatever's calculated to be used, because also I would like to make sure we cover the fact that this might have, this might be a problem for our current staff in the fire department. Having somebody else roaming and rummaging around in, and I just want to put it that way, in their building, going through the kitchen, the bathrooms, the bedrooms, the offices, whatever. Having people who are, they're not familiar with and are not part of the same team. That's a concern, a morale concern,
Well,
that needs to be addressed by the fire department itself.
what has been in the past, because it's one of the things that always came up with the previous chief at times, but, you know, we got a different administration, we're different. I mean, looking at it from the greater good aspect of it, it'd probably be a good thing if this could work.
If it works out.
Well, I can tell you that we're in some challenging times in terms of that entire
Yeah,
public safety and emergency response. And, we're talking about it at the equipment committee between the three departments. We're talking about it in terms of how it impacts us with EMS. And there are going to be changes that are going to be somewhat difficult for people to handle.
I'm sure whoever would be in, I'm sure they're bonded or insured in some form or fashion.
Yes.
My concern is just how much it's gonna cost us, are we gonna make any money rent wise, and from a non-financial standpoint, it is a greater good to have somebody in here that would have an ambulance available. I mean, I hear the calls for Walpole's coming over a fair amount of time, and
A lot.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More than what mutual aid is designed to accommodate.
Right.
And so I think that's a real problem. So, and there are no easy answers for this whole area. There just aren't.
I mean, I don't wanna see us as a municipality, town or village, get into the ambulance business.
I do not have
It's
any
not-
interest in
It's
providing.
not profitable,
No.
no matter of that.
You know,
Doesn't
It's a
break even.
capped reimbursement system and it's guaranteed to fail based on the way. it's-
So we just
it's
need
currently
further
set up.
discussions and assurances from the town. I mean, using village property where we already pay town taxes. So we have to be sure that we're doing the right thing for the community and our budget and our taxpayers when we allow that space, if indeed that even becomes the option they wish to choose.
Right.
Would you agree that we should continue further discussions with the town on this?
Oh, I think so, the joint meetings come up 29th.
It's
is it
next
not?
week.
Yes.
So we can add to that and they can do some thinking about that too.
And we should have our fire chief talk to us a little bit about the implications.
Mhm. Right, I mean,
Stephen
wasn't that where the
mentioned-
idea came from between you and Sean, Scott?
That was part of the discussions,
Mhm.
absolutely.
But obviously, part of our concern is the impact on our fire department,
Definitely.
our Bellows Falls Fire Department.
Right,
Well,
The
but-
issues that would be created,
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
particularly if it was worded that it would be a temporary accommodation to get
Right.
started,
We're only
that's one
doing the
thing.
contract for 2 years.
Uh-huh.
We made a
This is
specifically
2 year
limited
deal.
term.
But looking at the thing there, it also mentions heated facilities. Right now, we're in the middle of the winter,
yeah,
heating costs are skyrocketing through the roof. And you're gonna have a door that's going up and down, up and down.
frequently, yeah.
And I think, and I will say, that part of the problem, I think some people need to be educated in terms of, I gave the speech once before. And you get some, I have the radio in my rigs. Some people call for Band-Aids. They should be going to urgent care or going to their primary care physician. They call for an ambulance.
Yeah.
They never take a ride, so You know, a rig goes out,
There's no value for the
Yeah.
answer, so.
I mean, healthcare is one thing and emergency response, but I mean, some people.
Call for everything.
Yeah, I mean, you get some people in other places calling 911 to order a pizza. Or they didn't get their pizza right, so.
So we're bringing back that on Tuesday.
Yep.
Next Tuesday. So we move on to the second part of the public safety agenda item, which is fire response reimbursement discussion. And we have paperwork in our packet on the town's
Correct.
current policy.
So this came up again at a discussion with the fire equipment committee. There's been a host of conversations since the town taxpayers pay for the equipment for all the departments. And when there are regional responses like we've had recently with the brush fire and a few other of these incidences, they are eligible for reimbursement through insurance. In the case of that fire, and I don't remember exactly what the location is, maybe Ray remembers the one on
Brush fire?
the brush fire.
Randall Hill.
Yeah, random.
Thank you. The hill. That bill is going to be over almost $30,000
Wow.
for the responses, for people that rent and provided equipment and manpower. So there are, and again, that's an insurance related issue. It doesn't, but it just shows you that there are opportunities for participation in getting some of that manpower and equipment paid for. Same thing happens with accidents on 91. When we do, accidents and it turns out it's the fault of a driver for a trucking company and they wipe out, whatever they do. Again, your time and your equipment are potentially reimbursable for those types of things. So,
But the village doesn't have a policy on
Village does
public
not.
safety.
and I was told, and I did not go back and dig through the records to find out, but at one point we had discussed it and decided not to pursue it, not too long ago. So that's why I brought this forward to the village, just from the standpoint of, is this something that you're interested in? Do you want me to try to pursue this? I just want to get a sense of what you would like to do or not do.
So this agreement here only applies to the Rockingham Fire Department.
Yes. So if BF shows up to that exact same incident, and I have guys that are manning equipment and are there, and some of these fire scenes are there for 6, 8 hours.
Do you have any sense of what the financial implication is, like in typical year? Is it the reimbursable? Are we talking 5,000 or 50,000 or?
I would say the lower end is below 10,000. In most years, you won't see more than that. But if you have a couple of major incidences, you could easily approach 20 to 30,000. It just depends, right?
But
I
right
mean,
now in the village here, we don't have any means, at least in written form, by policy
Right.
to send the bill for anything.
Right.
Yeah, the big ones that concern me are hazardous materials, right? We're surrounded by large
Yeah.
storage facilities for bulk, propane and other kinds of places. And God helps, if there's ever a problem in any of these things, those things go for days, those responses.
So I can see this one's only since 2019, and I don't recall why we decided against it at the time. It would have been brought up for the village as well.
I mean, I don't remember it all exactly, but I remember a time here,
I'm not gonna say a word.
You know, I thought we
I
had,
was on the board at that time. and
Yeah,
we
I
did
was
very well,
too.
said pass.
well, I thought we
I
had.
didn't look it up.
But I
So
don't
I
remember.
did not go back and dig.
We had on
minutes.
accidents. like
But I think
car
it's a good
accidents,
idea
car
now.
accidents.
Yeah,
I thought, I remember somebody sitting here telling us that we were covered in the event we had a hazmat spill down on the island with the railroad,
oh,
that we would be, there was reimbursement mechanisms.
but
So,
technically, we don't have a policy for it.
My guess is they were probably speaking, if it turned into a, like a defined emergency, you know what I mean? Like a major.
right,
Part of the
Right.
issue when this was all put together was, but I don't remember all of it, but the part I do remember was that the board, the trustee board at the time, didn't want to bill village taxpayers for an incident that they might have. And that really wasn't the intent.
Oh, right, yeah,
You know, it's like if you got in an accident going home tonight,
Right.
you know, well, we don't want to send Stefan a bill because he's a village taxpayer. I mean, he didn't,
Right.
you know,
Right.
unless it was, you know,
Well, we might,
negligence or-
we better take that into advisement.
Yeah, maybe we will send them a bill.
So,
You're off my Christmas card.
so that was
Right.
one big part of it, but at the end of the day, if I read this correctly, you know, I think it would be a good thing to have in place, because the fire chief, according to this, has to,
Make a call.
can say, well, you know, we're not billing for that because for them types of reasons.
Okay.
But if it's a, you know, an oil leak from a
Oh, yeah,
truck that you're dealing with for 4.5 hours,
right, that's
then
where
you
I
have
come
the
in.
ability to maybe recoup some of your costs for anything that you may have used.
So what do we think? Do you think it's a good idea for us to pursue it?
Yeah, we can
I
mimic
can
that.
draft something, bring it back to you for your consideration, and I just, I didn't want to go through all the extra effort if the board was still not interested in
Right,
pursuing it.
so you're right, that was a concern about.
Yeah.
Local residents
Right.
and others.
So we'll draft something and bring it back to
Great.
you for
We had
further.
a good reason.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was it. That was it.
We had a very good reason.
And Jigs, I don't mind if you
We
pick on
missed the
me.
big picture.
Well, I don't know, if you're picking on me, you're giving somebody else a break.
Oh,
Okay, item number 3 is the town hall roof truss project discussion.
So this is again, just a beginning conversation. So obviously we're having issues with this building just because of its age. The roof needs to be replaced. It's been brought up, and I know Deb has been very vocal that she would like to see us pursuing more opportunities to save money with utilities and looking at the longer term, can we get off of heating oil and different types of things with this building especially is it's a big consumer of all of that type of energy. So in order to do that, we've been working with an engineer because we also have to do some other improvements in the theater in order to put the infrastructure on the roof to have our own facility here at Town Hall. The roof needs to be strengthened. So the proposal would be, if we were going to go forward and do this, outside of the work that the town's already committed, because they're gonna replace the roof materials, they're gonna do other roofing improvements, they gotta fix the drainage, some of the other problems that are occurring in the building. The question would be, is there some interest on the village's point to participate in the strengthening of the trusses so that we could make this a potential site and go out and get follow-up from either companies that want to do deals like we have with our land-based solar farms, or do our own solar array on the building to offset energy costs for the use of this building. So it's sort of a long and convoluted conversation, but that's sort of where we are at the moment.
Is there enough sun on the roof here would you have to take all the vegetation off the bank?
It gets a decent amount of direct sunlight here. Yeah, it does. And with the improvements in some of these new photo cell, and I don't know enough about it to tell you, the weight of these things are increasingly decreasing, right? So they're able to cover larger areas with less
Weight.
dense material, so you get a better long-term return on your investment. But we haven't even started to pursue the actual array because we're still working through the logistics of what it's going to take to get the first phase of the roof project up and running, and then the second phase would be the actual replacement of the roofing materials, and then we would then have a third phase where if we put an array up there, we'd have to go and put a process together, attract bidders, and have something come forward from there. So
They have solar on the level block, right? Start the, now. The slate one right across from the Legion. So that's slate roof mansard.
Canal house?
Canal house, yeah.
In the house.
They have
Does it have
solar on it.
solar?
I think they have rooftop solar.
I think they have, yeah, I'm not sure how extensive that one is, but I do think they have
I
something.
mean, the same house we used to have geothermal.
It'd be the same
Yeah.
orientation.
Right.
Okay.
So again, the question, and it's just at this point initially for discussion is, is that something the board is is interested in pursuing. Again, we use this building, it's not just for town operations, obviously we have building meetings and we have other supportive government kinds of services here. So it does benefit all of our taxpayers in the long run. It's just a question of whether we want to participate in this or not.
Well, you were asking if we wanted to participate with funds. And that was,
Ultimately, if we do it, participation would mean some money.
Well, let me ask though. We're not looking at it because Debbie mentioned about putting solar panels, correct?
No, if we're gonna do
it
this,
needs repairs anyway.
we have to do the roof repair anyway.
So it's concerned.
This
like-
extra work on the trusses would support enough weight to be able to do a new array on the building.
But there's not a problem at the moment with snow load, or there is a problem, that's why you have to do something.
No, there's a problem with the drainage
drains.
and the actual membranes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have to do some work just because of the way that the lights and the things work in the theater, but that's all separate from this. This is really a longer term investment. If we want to put something on that roof.
Yeah.
That's
Your
what we have to
question is
do.
about participation at this stage to make it possible if we were to pursue, not.
I'm still
if we pursue.
working on costs, and I don't have all the different costs. At some point, that'll be part of the conversation with the select board, and then we'll come back and we'll have a more detailed breakdown.
There, before you came on board, and I was on the select board, and Gaetano was there, and we had a quote, I believe, in some type of engineering study that was done on the roof.
Yes, Stevens and Associates, I believe.
This-
$20,000 or so dollars.
Yeah, well, I'm not. there was
Maybe
an
more than
estimate
that.
Stevens is the one that's been working on the truss and the improvements, and they're also gonna work on the membrane and the other portion.
Right, but there was someone that came in, I thought, with the cost to do these, estimated at roughly $250,000 or 200,000.
That was just to replace the membrane.
Right,
Didn't fix the drainage,
Wow.
didn't do some of the other problems. So to really fix this roof, we have to do some major work.
The ARPA funds were distributed by population, right? To Bellows Falls got the biggest piece because more people are in Bellows Falls. Saxon's River got a smaller piece based on its population, and then rural Rockingham, the Rockingham piece was the rural Rockingham, the non-Bellows Falls,
Right.
Saxon's River.
Right.
So it would seem to me this would be a subject for the tribal.
Yeah.
Another opportunity to have a conversation because there's,
This would be an equitable way of not having Bellows Falls taxpayers pay twice.
and the goal is ultimately if we can reduce the operating cost of this building, it benefits all
It's
of
going to
us.
benefit everybody, yeah.
Exactly. And hopefully maintain some viability for the theater going forward as well.
At the same time, the Village of Bellows Falls doesn't have any ownership in this building.
Well, maybe we should be thankful.
Well, we should be thankful, but that also
Would you
does
like an
means
equity stake
perhaps
to
we
work
don't want to
that out?
participate financially in this building. I
I
mean,
want to sell the town the municipal fire police building.
I don't want to do that. Why would you do that?
Well,
So
I
we
mean,
can pay them rent for our fire department?
No,
and
no,
our
no,
police department?
no, just they would.
not a bad idea, Chief. Might mean like townwide police or something.
Yeah, we could give them a bill for that. That'd be great.
So
And they
I,
can
well,
take over
anyway,
the union
the-
negotiations. That'd be
the,
great.
Go ahead.
on the roof, so I just want to understand this. So it says Town Hall Roof Truss Project. So are the trusses getting repairs and or work done regardless of whether there's an array or not? Or the trusses?
There would not be, the amount of work that needs to be done would not be
Okay,
enough to support any additional weight on top of the roof with the new membrane and the new.
If we don't do, if
If
the
we
trusses do
don't-
not get done.
Correct. Because you gotta do some, it's a lot of welding and it's a lot of structural reinforcement.
Yeah, we don't know
A
yet.
lot of the solar stuff I've read has gone to aviation aluminum, which is high strength and less weight,
But they're on a frame,
yeah,
They
right?
still have to sit. Yeah.
made of elimination, aviation aluminum.
So,
And you have to not have enough photovoltaic array to handle the entire usage of the building.
right.
So you have enough store, so we can have enough storage, that sort of thing. So we can have to store it
That's another issue.
I would also,
Yeah.
I'd also hope that, a solar expert could look at our roof and say, hey, yay.
Right,
this-
based on this, you could, right,
You
have so many
could- you
kilowatt
could have
hours of,
Yeah,
Maybe they should, maybe the array should go on the hillside, has some clear, right?
Do we own
What are you
it?
talking about?
Do we own the hillside?
I don't know.
what hillside do we want to clear now?
Behind,
Behind,
the town hall.
oh, God.
Do we
then you
own
have
that?
erosion.
Better
Then
talk to
the
Cass
bankers
first.
come down.
Oh, yeah, the trees, yeah.
cut trees and.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Well, now we take the weight off, put it on the hill instead of,
Just watch the hill slide down in chunks. I think
Oh,
the
God,
trees
that'd
are
be
holding
bad.
that hill in
Oh, God.
place.
that would be bad. We don't want that.
Yeah, that would be real bad.
Okay, so again,
All right,
move it to the joint board.
certainly.
Ordinance Review Committee update is the next one. Scott has given us a couple pieces of, couple pages from Josh Stern, considering some commentary on some of the ordinances listed. Chapter 5 through 11, plus the parking and traffic. Chapter 4.
Right. So these sort of got lost in the shuffle with, the ordinance committee had a host of meetings, came up with some updates,
The last 3 or so years, yeah.
sent them to Ray at that time and just sort of got lost in the general, I'm not quite sure how to describe it, but they were just sitting.
In Ray's workload, yeah.
Yes, and so now,
We restarted the ordinance committee meeting.
Right.
We had one last Wednesday.
yes,
These ordinances were not submitted at that time. We knew that we had to look at them to see where Ray had gotten, which we can see what we have. The ordinance committee will be meeting again in January, where we will review this. We also covered the rental inspection ordinance, which we are considering will break out. That's going to be worked on. Breaking out the fire piece from the rest of it, so that we can move forward and get our is it an MOA or an MOU?
it's an MOA with the state. They're
Yeah, with
very
the state.
specific. It's not an
So-
MOU, it's an MOA.
Okay, so get it approved through the state. And then the other one was the burn permit, where we would, the burn ban for the parks, where we would put that, would probably be in the nuisance. Is it that one? It's the offenses against persons of property is where that would go.
Hmm.
And we will be working, that's all stuff we'll be doing, we're starting on January.
Right.
So that's just a heads up on where we are with this stuff.
So you will at some point see these coming back to you for
Yep.
adoption and updating our municipal ordinances, but just wanted to give the full board a sense of where things were, because it sort of got lost in the shuffle.
Oh, well, we still have them in place, just we
The
haven't got
updates.
anything amended yet. Yeah.
Right,
Item number 5 is the parking permit discussion. I asked this to be on here because it is after November 1st. People do need to get them. It looks like we might have a little offage on the budget item. We budget every year for $2,200. We've got $1,080 according to our most recent budget. I checked with Kathleen and it looks like it's more like $1,135. So I'm not sure why the numbers are off of it. That would be something to, like, that we could bring to Alyssa's attention. Kathleen sees 1135, we got 1,080. I've assumed it's 50-50 between the town and village, but I don't know. Parking wise, I don't know if we have the exact same number of parking spots, town to village, but anyway, my concern was that there are some derelict vehicles in some of the parking lots. People park them during the entire summer and spring and fall, and we need to make sure we have plenty of space for people who have to park with a parking permit, which is $40 a year, or $20, was it $20 for a visitor permit? Is that what it is, Kathleen?
No, you have to own, you have to have a regular permit. Like,
Okay, yes, in order to get one for,
like one
guest.
bar down here, Remy and Align,
Mhm.
they buy their permanent stickers.
Yeah.
Then they can come in and buy a $20 temporary one to move from car to car when they have visitors.
so just making sure the public is aware, you do need to get these. Anytime now, we'll have an initial snowstorm. And and they'll need to be moved, and you need to be aware that you will not get a heads up phone call
Right.
to let you know that they're going to be plowing that next night. So you need to make sure to keep an eye on your vehicles, whether, one or sundry. And if they have parking permits, you've got to get them moved out of the lots in order for the lots to be plowed. So it's just me wanting to make sure that people understand you have to be aware of your own vehicle in the parking lots. And if you have an uninspected vehicle or unpermitted vehicle, please get them permitted. I would like to see the police ticketing them and getting them moved. Because we do have some problems with vehicles that don't get moved out of the lots every winter, and the plow trucks flying around them don't usually want to get them towed. So I prefer that people were proactive about their vehicles. But if you go up to Hetty Green, you'll see, I think, at least a couple that should not be in the lot, but they are. So,
Okay, you mentioned that they gotta be diligent and pay attention to the weather, but.
Yeah.
Here it says during times of snow removal, signs will be posted in lots and vehicle owners will be,
and they do with a 24-hour notice.
A
okay.
lot of folks don't.
They don't even go on the
Every
lot.
day.
That came up last year.
Yes,
Now people want
Because
to
Alicia, and then I
email
heard also Carrie, or people that were being very nice to make courtesy calls to people to let them know they need to move their vehicles out of the lots. But you can't count on that.
Right.
That's a courtesy. It's not in the piece with the permit at all. So you need to pay attention to the signage in the lots, check on your cars, get them
And the
moved.
signage instructs them on where they can move it to.
No, it just tells them that they're gonna be doing it that night, so they have a 24-hour notice. That's all they got.
Just says they'll be picking up snow.
They need to move it to some, I don't know where they put it. And I really can't say what to do with it.
Don't tell them what lot they can park in.
Yeah, I'm
So
just
if they
thinking,
park at Hetty Green and they're gonna be picking up snow there that night, they may have to move to the waypoint for the night or down a bridge.
If there's no
street for-
sign there.
Right, but they don't, like at the waypoint, they'll only pick up that half one night.
Okay,
that half
so they
the
can
next night.
alternate.
There's usually a spot for them to go to.
Right.
Okay,
They
Correct.
don't
So-
pick them all up the same night.
if your lot is being plowed, then get it out of there, move it to another lot that will be done another day.
Correct.
And for the night. And we are sorry for the inconvenience, but it's better than having your vehicle plowed in with ice and snow the following morning, you can't get into it. So,
Yes.
so thank you, that was it. I just wanted to make sure the public is well aware of this.
Are we ticketing now for on-street parking?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
all right,
Meetings
next
are
one,
done.
excuse me, I'm sorry,
Nope.
I interrupted you. Next is financials. And do you have some questions?
You know,
James,
there's,
you do.
there's just a few that I think we've already asked the question and had it answered, and I've forgotten what it is.
Yeah.
It's the big ones, page 5 to 14, halfway down under insurance.
Oh, yeah,
This is for the fire department. Not the fire building, but the fire department.
buildings and contents.
It's in
Yeah.
buildings and content of $1,711. Clearly, we have been budgeting
under
a
budget.
very small amount in this line forever.
I think she changed some of the allocations, which is, I think, why. Well, I'll double check, because I know we were working with the renewals, we were working with our coverages.
Okay, so that, so that was one, and then the other is more of a, on page 7. We show a $25,000 transfer from the general fund to the reserve fund, I guess.
Capital expenditure one, is that the one?
No,
It's
half hour later on the
it's,
page.
Yeah, okay.
up above, it says police vehicle transfer,
Oh.
25,000. Then
Right.
in the bottom section, it shows the 25,000, and then it shows an actual of 3577, and So I'm confused as, so it looks like they've, you know.
If I remember correctly, we had not, the board had, we had two things going on. We created the reserve so that we made sure that we didn't have this problem year to year.
Set aside,
carrying. So we did that. Then I think the prior year, Jigs, we had not done the transfer.
Right.
So I think we had done it twice. So I think that's why it's probably showing up and being confusing as to how it actually appears.
My
But it
question.
looks like the, excuse me.
No, go ahead.
It looks like up above that the budget was 25, the actual was 25. Down below, the budget was 25, there's no actual. But there's a equipment,
Well,
wait a
it's
minute,
Building improvements.
building improvements of 3755,
3577.
Yeah,
3577.
7750,
And
yeah,
it appears they've netted that against the
25.
25 because,
Right.
so something is, I mean,
Yeah, that could just be a setup issue. I think.
Yeah, building
Right.
improvements, I would think would be under
Because the point of
equipment.
it is
Right.
carrying the 25 to the following year when
Yeah.
we're going to decide if we want to replace another vehicle. So
so
I'll
could
check
you
the
have that?
accounting on that. I think it's just a setup issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is another one that comes up all the time. Keep in mind, on the water fund,
Yep.
we show this Westminster interest grant.
What page you on?
This, I'm sorry, page 8,
Thank you.
the very top.
Northwest Westminster?
No, yeah, Northwest Minster.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
keep in mind, the issue that we've got with this town of Westminster is the sewer, not the water.
Right.
Okay, this is the water fund. And we show this interest grant of 24,000, and we've not received any of it. I'm looking for clarification on what that is.
Yeah, what is that? We don't supply water. That's what's
We, we,
Sewer, yes.
we have water.
Yeah,
up
we do
on
have
the-
water out there.
Yeah, Westminster, and we charge, they get bills like we do.
Oh, right.
That's the group that was in here.
That's
at
right.
One point complaining
Yeah.
about their water.
Yeah.
It might be a cleanup of an old account and it just didn't get cleaned up properly, but I'll double check.
Well, I mean, I would,
Because we obviously budgeted
Right.
24,000.
yeah, but maybe it should have been zero. No.
It might have been rolled into another
But there could be
finalizing
a-
loan and that we canceled that out
Mm.
in the account. But I'll
I
double
don't
check
know,
that.
I don't think so, but anyway, that's the another question.
Okay.
Then, I think on page 9, the bottom, under the repairs and maintenance, I think the Scadia equipment,
Scadia.
29, that was a special vote that we did, wasn't it? Didn't
Do you
we have-
remember those were the two things that failed, those two?
Yeah, we didn't
indicate-
expect that, yeah.
We came and told you they were about 13 or 14,000 apiece, and by the
Right.
time they got installed, that's
That's
what
what
got
that is.
expensive.
That's good.
Okay.
And so they're up and actually, they're working great. That's where that got expensed.
Yeah. Uh, I'm happy to see on page 11, although this could be just an accrual, under the sewer user Northwest Minister, this is our pain in our, you know
Oh.
what,
Mhm.
we show actual of 23,800. I don't know if that's an accrual or if we actually got paid.
No, did not been paid,
Okay,
Um,
that's an accrual.
which is another discussion for another meeting.
Yeah.
Yep,
okay,
yep.
Okay, and then,
Do you think we might resolve that before the end of the year? I say that with only 6 weeks left, less than,
Do you want my honest answer, or do you want me to give you?
come on, yeah, don't give me the BS answer.
All
Give
right,
me-
my honest answer, no.
No. I'm just being hopeful, a Christmas present.
Right. But there are some things we have to talk about with that, so I will make sure we do that at our next meeting.
Okay, good.
Yes.
the revenue, again, we lag on the Walpole revenue, but
That catch up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so true up.
Anyway. That,
One thing I want
The
to
other
point
one,
out to the board is just on the revenue side, if you look at the septage lines,
Yeah,
we're running substantially ahead again on septage. So,
that's a real good thing.
yeah.
yeah, it is a good thing. It's just, we thought maybe it was just related more towards COVID and people are home more, but I
Not
just
now.
don't think so. I just think this is going to be.
Well, there's also a shift in people's work habits now, where there are some, I don't know how high that percentage is, but people who work at home now. As opposed to
True.
in an office building.
True.
The other one was on page 13, near the bottom, under equipment for the sewer.
Hmm.
And we have this safety equipment expense of,
Right, so that is, we charge the trench boxes to that equipment line, and that will be reimbursed through the grant. So you will see money coming
Okay.
back to assets for that, and then it'll be allocated to town for a portion, sewer for a portion, and water for a
Okay.
portion.
trench boxes.
Trench boxes.
Trench
Yeah.
boxes.
Yeah,
So
you
they're
gotta have
stackable
those.
trench boxes so that we can do deeper excavations and provide safety.
Okay,
So-
so
Oh,
grant, the
somebody does.
grant will reimburse us.
Yes. I'll follow up to make sure that we post it accordingly and try to give you a heads up when to do it. We have submitted for the reimbursement.
Okay, thank you.
That it?
That's it.
I had one thing, and that is, we're gonna lose $28,000 in revenue on page 1.
Yeah.
Because of the rental housing like registration fee. We won't be getting any of that, I don't think, in this fiscal year.
Doesn't appear to be enough.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I had. Jake's covered everything else. Does anyone else have? Thanks for,
I had two, but we had them.
he hit him, there you go. Yeah, I had a couple of them. That's why I figured I'd let Bill.
It's like homework to see if you can find something to talk
That's
about
right.
that Jiggs doesn't already talk about.
Okay, letting people know, we will be having an executive session that do not believe will be any action taken. But we'll get on the rest of the agenda, which is to review agenda items for next meeting. North Westminster is one of those.
Yes, correct.
Anything else you can think of right now?
How about that? Issue of reimbursement. Would that
Oh.
be ready for
The reimbursement for
reimbursement.
Oh, we'll just
fire.
have a draft for that?
the?
Yes.
Yeah, because it
We should
should
bring it
probably be
back.
the same as the town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the fire
Policy.
response.
Yeah, the policy, yeah. Okay, review agenda items for joint board meeting, which is next week, next Tuesday, the 29th.
Right, so we will have on there, we're gonna have some fire equipment discussion. That seems to be a standing item. We'll have an update on where we are with tax sales. We've had to make a change since we last met. We'll have on there a presentation from the incremental development
Oh.
group.
Oh, Ridley,
They're gonna do a brief presentation at the beginning of the meeting. And there was also two other items that are escaping me at the moment.
well, there's the items on our agenda, the roof truss and the ambulance.
I will add those, yeah, but there were two others besides that that I just put the last.
Oh, okay,
Jumped out of my head.
they're upstairs.
Yeah, they're upstairs somewhere.
Okay.
If you have anything else, let me know.
Yeah.
So it is next Tuesday. So,
Review and approve orders, bills and warrants.
So move. Second.
Any further discussion? Did everybody get a chance to sign them?
Yeah, it's Stephanie's gotta do it.
Okay, yeah. At the very end of a cold, sorry, it was never COVID. Talking just exacerbates it. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And any opposed? None, we're good. Last thing, other business. Folks, Scott,
all set?
Wade,
Just want to say thank you to Mr. McAuliffe and his wife and my wife and whoever else. I know there's probably a couple others that have been cleaning up the flower beds around the village.
nice.
I know they did the one at the fire police station last week.
It's a big,
It's a big area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe we had the lady from North Walpole was doing one or a couple.
yes, yeah.
I forget her
I
name.
forget. It's, Hardy.
Hardy,
Yeah.
Diane.
Diane
Diane
Hardy.
Hardy.
Yep.
So just wanted to say, you know, it's good to get them done before winter sets in really.
Great. Thanks.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
I just want to say it's cold, it's gonna stay cold, and I've already had calls from, concerning people who are having trouble with their heating system, and or maybe their landlord, but, in particular, if you're getting cold, we have needs, don't wait too many days to contact the health officer, in town, or reach out to someone who can help you get that done, or call 211, or whatever you need to do, but don't wait until it's you and your family are in dire straits. Just don't wait. There's always somebody out there who will put a hand out and help you. And I just want to make sure people get that because it's going to stay consistently cold for a while now. And try to have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Just a data boy to the our high school football team. They went pretty far and they deserve a pat on the back. Job well done. It wasn't the championship, but they fought hard.
Yeah, no parade this year for that. But there's always another year.
Always next year.
We will be having executive session. Jakes has the motion. And if you could,
We not anticipate to come back into public session.
we will not, we won't be having any,
Just so the folks on,
we'll come back and to close the meeting and that's it. There won't be any action taken.
thank you.
And I'll keep track of that. So, yeah, make sure that it's.
Okay. I move to find the premature general public knowledge of labor relations agreements with employees will clearly place the municipality at a substantial disadvantage.
Need a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. I move that the board enter executive session to discuss labor relations agreements with employees under the provision of Title I, Section 313A1 of the Vermont statutes, and invite village manager Scott Pickup to attend as well.
Need a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, and we're going to executive session. Thank